What is going on, E7 fam? Pat here, back with the last Sue Talks of the year for 2023. Happy holidays, everyone. This is being recorded right before Christmas, and will probably go out right before Christmas as well. So hopefully you are having a wonderful holiday season with your loved ones. Today, I am so thankful to have a very special guest with me. Special guest, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone?
Hello, I'm Jasmine T, or you may also know me as Luka if you're from the Epic 7 community. I have just started to stream for myself again. You might have seen my streams a little bit here and there, but I'm really excited to be streaming Epic 7 for myself again and just making content in general. And I'm really appreciative of Sue for having me here, so thank you.
Mhm. So, as you all know, Luca is the former community manager for Epic 7. So, most of our talks, at least for the first half of this, are going to be involving what goes into a community manager, what that entails. Like, everybody knows the title community manager, but what do you actually do as a community manager? And as a extra question there for you, Luca, how do you actually get into the role of being a community manager?
Okay, so I'll answer the second part of the question first, just because I feel like that's a little bit of a shorter answer. Because for me, I got very, very lucky coming into this role because I was referred pretty much. And they, looked at my resume. I had just finished university. This was, I think, 6 months after graduation. It was still during kind of peak pandemic when everyone went remote and I was referred, and they liked my resume enough to give me the first round of interviews, and then went through the second and third final rounds, and then they gave me the offer letter. And I will say sometimes part of getting roles is kind of who you know, in essence,
Mm-hmm.
on top of having the skills to do your roles and responsibilities. Although like I will say, unless it is a very, very technical role, you can get by kind of personality, if I want to say,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because a lot of times what teams will look for is kind of whether or not you will mesh with the other team members. And if they feel like you'd be a good fit, you can kind of um, work your way around becoming really good at what you do. Because
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah.
a lot of people who are already working in companies will sometimes tell you that they didn't know what they were doing. They just had to Google everything until they got to a point where they were kind of the experts, right? But
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
really took that first initial, oh, we're going to take the kind of, um, what is it, like a chance, a stab in the dark, right? Giving somebody a chance.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's really what happened with me because I did not have any prior professional experience. But yeah, I feel like I got very lucky.
Yeah. Just to add to that, so for those of you who do not know, like in my professional day job, I work for a recruiting firm. So as Lucas said, it's not what you know, it is who you know. So having a referral is a big deal. Networking with people, super big deal. So if you're looking to get into the games industry, network, network, network. And then,
Mhm.
like she said, it's having like essentially a personality, like a winning personality, like being nice, being forthright in the interviews, asking questions back to them, kind of being prompt with your responses. Those are all like super important things to ask. And just in general, try to think what else to add here.
Ooh, networking is very important, but people can tell the difference if you're genuinely interested in them as a person or if you're just trying to connect with them solely for
For
the purpose of trying to like get into their network.
Yeah, that is absolutely also true. That is
Mhm.
definitely true. But yeah, it does go a long way knowing people. Like we always say that saying all the time. It's not what you know; it is literally who you know.
Mhm.
As like a bonus little like side tip for those of you who are interviewing for questions, because I do this a lot when I prep people for it. The last question you always ask on any interview you go to is there any questions or concerns that would stop me from moving forward? Because that gives you a chance when talking to your potential I guess boss at this point to clear the
Mhm.
air with them. So if they have any reservations like, oh, you don't seem to have this experience, or I was confused about what you said here. That kind of like helps you out there. So yeah, going back to it, community manager. What does a
Yeah,
community manager actually do?
I feel like players think a community manager is just a person who plays the game and has control over what happens in the game. Uh, in
Which,
reality, though, we are sort of the middlemen, the messengers, for the devs and for the players. We want to be a um, a rep for the players and a rep for the devs, and sometimes being in the middle is not always great.
mm-hmm.
And I mean, specifically for my position as a community manager in Smilegate, it was making content. It was like communicating with the community. It was being kind of like a front facing person where the community could go to regarding any sort of grievances or things that they did like about the game, so that way we could tell the devs like this is what's kind of working, this is what's not working, and then the devs can tell us, okay, well, this is what's going to be happening, so this is what you can tell the community. um there are a lot of times, I will say, when the community is super upset and i I know something that you don't, but the thing
Yeah.
is, I cannot tell you. And I want to say that was kind of the one of the most frustrating parts about being a community manager is when you either one know information that will be coming out later on that will make the
Yeah.
community happy, or two, having the like knowing the information and never being able to tell the community.
Yeah.
That
That's super
yeah.
frustrating for sure. So
Hmm.
one of my like side gigs that I've had over the years is I have been like a designer and a tester for various different card games. And you know, you're behind NDA, and there are some times where like you look at like social media and you see like, oh, the format's ruined. I hate this thing. It's super broken. Why hasn't the company done anything about it? And you're just sitting there like, it's getting banned in like 2 or 3 months, but I can't say that or I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
And then there are other times where like people ask like, why can't we get this? And I go and I voice that to my boss, and they're just like, no, just never. It's never gonna happen. So despite how much like I will plug in my videos, oh, I wish it was easier to get ML5s for new players. Maybe there's just something in the mission statement that just says like they have the numbers and say like 90% of our revenue comes from ML5s. We're not gonna make them easier to get. And the community
Hmm.
manager probably knows that, I'm assuming, Luca, but you just gotta hold that.
Yeah, I mean, there have definitely been a lot of times where it's like, if only the community knew, they probably wouldn't be with their pitchforks and fires at us right now. But I think what was really, really great, and I mean, what is great about the Epic 7 community is the understanding that the community managers are just doing their jobs and they're not the ones, putting the final say into everything.
Yeah.
And having players who will defend you when other players are like, why aren't the CMs doing anything? Like, blah, blah, blah. And we have people going, no, 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 no. That's they're doing what they can
Yeah.
with everything that's happening. Ultimately, that's not their decision, because if it was, we probably would have been already having it by now.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so I think our community has been great in terms of kind of understanding the line between what the CMs are able to do versus it being kind of like out of their control.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I guess we'll move on here. So for most of you who are longtime Epic 7 players, they most likely know you, Luca, from your segment, The Loop, over on the E7 YouTube channel. So how did The Loop come about, and what are some of your favorite memories from doing The Loop?
So the loop, as sort of a community channel, or a community series, was in talks even before I had come on, and they were kind of looking for a host for the series. They were looking for someone who could be that, and pretty much they asked me, hey, we think that your way of emceeing and hosting would fit really well with the series. Would you be open to being the person for it. And I said, okay, yeah, definitely would love to help kind of showcase community members because it's content made by the community for the community. And my favorite, oh, one of my favorite moments from the loop was definitely when we had this thumbnail of female Arby, gender bent Arby, and this was
I
during the
remember
time
this.
when this conversation was blowing up in the community. I forgot why it started happening again, but I decided I think this fan art created by Viana Octavi, she has such amazing art, and I showcased that as my thumbnail as like a we're getting gender bent Arby as a new RTA skin. And what was really surprising is that people were pretty split in terms of the sentiment because I feel like in the YouTube comments it was pretty 50-50 of people going, "No, no, no, we do not want a gender bent Arby. No, don't do that. We need more husbando skins. Stop trying to make everything
Oh,
waifu."
waifu. Yeah.
And then we have the other side going, "Yes, please. We have been asking for this for so long. This is the thing that we want to see." So I was very shocked at sort of the 50-50ness of it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
now in one of the previous Sue talks that we had, I would say it's like the fourth episode where it was Valky and Hesmana and everybody. That was a user submitted question: is who would you like to see as a gender bent character in Epic 7? And I was kind of surprised that that was asked by a
Mhm,
couple of people. And Hesmana, I know, was asking for hand guy. Like that was like the big thing that he wanted. And I guess
mhm,
like most other waifu aficionados probably feel the same way. Somebody like Mashu, for example, who will probably talk about him a little bit later in this
mhm.
this podcast. So, all right, in a similar vein to the loop, uh, this is kind of like a personal thing for me. So when I first started doing Epic 7 content, I really, really wanted to be part of the World's End podcast. And I also wanted to do Orbis Overdrive because I think those are like two amazing programs that Epic 7 actually puts out. And I'm very fortunate that you chose me at one point to be on both of those things. So thank you so much. So similar to the previous question, how do you feel about both those programs? How did they come about? And do you have any specific favorite memories from them?
So, the World's End podcast was a series that had been going on long before I was even with the company. New and Mashu were the ones who started it, and I had just continued it. And with Orbis Overdrive, it was sort of our way of pulling Mashu from having to do 2 to 3 a.m. streams,
Yeah, okay.
because, if for people who maybe didn't know, him doing Here's the Thing was in PST, our time, like 2 to 3
Yeah,
AM,
yeah,
and then he would still have work the next day,
yeah,
right? And, there have been a lot of people who have seen, his, luxury bags, if you know what I mean, under his
yeah.
eyes, and
Yeah, that dude feels like
we
even just when I visited you guys over at the Smallgate HQ, like he just seems perpetually tired, man. He is just like he is
yeah.
the unsung hero. Not that you to say you aren't, but like you could just tell he gives it 120% for you
Mhm.
all the time.
Yeah, and so, uh we wanted to create a way to still do kind of like the patch update videos, but in a way where we can interact with the community as well as our content creators, because when Mashi was doing Here's the Thing, he wouldn't be able to talk that much with the community at all because he just has to get through the video and then go to sleep.
Yeah.
Um, but Orbis Overdrive was our way to be able to with both the community and our content creators and allow Mashi to get some more sleep.
Yeah.
He has insomnia, which he's talked about before, but having insomnia and then having to work late hours is still kind of different, I feel.
Yeah.
Um, so those were the two series, and I mean, some of my favorite memories. Ooh. I think it's just being able to talk with our content creators, specifically for these series, right? Because we invite content creators to talk with us. And I think just having that a bit more of a one on one with our content creators was always really nice, just getting to know everyone and seeing kind of the personality. Because I feel like a lot of the content creators, their personalities on stream is very similar to how they are off stream,
This is true.
which I found was very nice. And yeah, those series are ones that, I look back on fondly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, okay. So, the community submitted question that a couple people asked me, it said like half a dozen or so, which was gun to your head, favorite content creator that you've had to work with for any of these segments that we talked about, and why. And if you don't pick me, I'm not gonna hold it against you. So don't worry about that.
So, community, I can't believe you're asking me this question. Who my favorite content creator is? See, the issue here is I feel like all the content creators that I've worked with have been very pleasant, and most most of the time replies within a reasonable amount of time. I don't think I've really had too many issues having to like pull teeth from someone to get a reply from them.
Oh, that's good.
Um, but I mean, if I really had to choose, I really cannot just choose one person, but I would pick the people that I requested for the program, who I chose. That I was like, you know what? I like their content. I want to see them in this program, and they were Sue,
Oh,
Tristan,
it's me.
and Ace.
Oh.
But yeah,
Hey,
it was.
we did a Stu talk with Ace last time. Go check that out, by the way. Ace is like actually like giga brain, like galaxy brain when it comes to how he
Yeah.
plays this game. Same with Tristan.
Mhm.
Not discrediting Tristan as well. Like Tristan's like very quickly become one of my favorite people in the E7 space. He's just
Mhm.
he's very funny, by the way. Like he is hilarious. Like I'll throw it up on the screen now, but if you guys haven't seen when he was on with Luka and Mashu with the Landy copy pasta, that
Copy
kind of takes
pasta.
that kind of takes the cake for you could find it if you ask in the right circles. You could find it. I'm not gonna play the audio here because it's kind of sus, but again, he's a really funny
Just a
individual.
little.
Just a little. Okay, so we talked about him a little bit now, once or twice so far, but Mashu was obviously the other community manager that worked alongside you, which, by the way, I couldn't get Mashu to come on for this edition of Stu Talks, but if you do want to see him after he returns from holiday, he will probably be the very next episode of this, depending on how his scheduling pans out. So, but yeah, Mashu, again, like I said, community manager who worked alongside you. And I've always felt, I've already said it before, he was one of the unsung heroes of the game. Same with you, unsung hero of the game. So what is your favorite memory working with Mashu? And you can bet I'm definitely asking him this question as well when we talk to him.
Oh man, working with Mashu was one of the worst. No, no, no. Mashu was probably one of the best coworkers I could have asked for, especially coming into the industry so new. Um, I honestly kind of saw him as like an older brother figure, uh,
Mm-hmm.
to an extent where we would like joke around with each other. Where if we would make eye contact in the office, and then he'd go Luka, and I'd be like Mashu, and we would just have these small moments of just silliness that was always great. And I mean, I would say one of my favorite memories was one where I was going through a little bit of a hard time. It was during kind of this transitionary period within the company, and I was having like a hard time understanding my true roles and responsibilities, and I was kind of making a few mistakes here and there. And this one day I had made a pretty big mistake, and it just felt like everything was caving in, and I was just trying to hold it in until the end of the day. I was like, oh, did this I I don't know. Can I actually do this? And that day we were filming for it was maybe the loop. We were filming for something.
Okay.
And I was trying to hold it in, just smiling through the pain. And I think he could kind of tell that it was a little off, right? And he said, "Hey, everything's going to be okay." And for some reason, I don't know if it was the way he said it, how he said it, but it was just like, it felt like a signal to me that like you can cry, like you can just let it out. And like
Yeah.
I was trying to say my lines and it the tears started to well up. You could see my eyes just glossing over and he was telling me, "Do you want to just take a second and go on a walk real quick?" And I told him, "Yeah, I'm going to walk." And after I came back, something about that just made me feel so much better.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, that is one of the memories I hold very fondly of Mashu just saying, "Hey, dude, everything's going to be okay."
Yeah.
And when he said it, it actually felt like, "Oh, okay, you know what? It will be okay."
Yeah. So for anybody who watched me disastrously self-destruct during the Orbis caster clash, I basically had like a breakdown on stage, and I remember the other two judges were not so kind to me, right? Like Shifty and them, and Mashu was the one that was like, "I'll give you the 7 because I see the potential there." Like even though like this was bad, like he gave me another chance and was like, "Hey, dude, it's gonna be fine. Like you got this."
Mhm.
And that like literally like broke me on the inside to hear somebody say like, "Hey, we acknowledge that like yeah you messed up, but like there's still a lot of potential in you." And then like so hearing him say that, and then like hearing Carr reach out to me and say a similar thing, like really like upped my
Mhm.
confidence level and like didn't let me kind of like fall back into this like dark place. And it felt really really good to know that Mashu had my back in that instance, and it really
Mhm.
like helped me push forward past that moment and kind of like continue on with doing bigger and better things, especially within like the
Mhm.
E7 space. So I am always eternally grateful for him for that. All right, so enough of this like serious sad talk now. All right, so I'm sure our viewers can guess if they look behind you, but when I first met you in person at Smilegate HQ, Luca, I was astounded at the sheer number of waifu figures that you've had on your desk. Like, I literally was like, "Oh, there's the Takudachi on the desk. That's clearly Mashu's. Oh, this guy has got a Smash Brothers amiibo. Wonder who that is. Oh, this is just a plain cubicle. No big deal. Who's the one with like 40 waifu figures on it?" So I'm gonna say you've got to be an anime and manga fan. Yes or no? And if you are, what are your favorite series? Tell us, Luca.
Okay. So, yes, I do. I do consider myself a connoisseur of anime and manga. Um, the funny thing is, okay, so the reason why I had so many figurines on my desk was because I had no space in my apartment to arrange them anywhere. And only two or three of them I had actually purchased. My Nendroids,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was just my two Nendroids, and no, three Nendroids I purchased. And then the rest of them were ones that I won from crane machines. And I just wanted to showcase them somewhere. And my desk, we just had free real estate. And so it was, in one way, it was a storage space for me. But in another way, it was a way to showcase my figurines. Um, and my favorite series, I would say, if I had to choose one, it would be No Game No Life. I've talked about this a few times in the past, and Jabril is my favorite character. She's my waifu. She's my number one.
It's true.
Um,
It's true. By the way, when Luca was gracious enough to drop me off at the airport, she was like, "Oh, just throw your bag in the trunk," and she just opens the trunk and it's filled with Jabril figures, and I was like, "Oh," and she's like, "Yeah, I don't have space for these right now. Like, just ignore it. It's fine." Good pick, by the way. That's my favorite character from No Game No Life, by the way.
thanks. I mean, yeah, she's strong. She has a fun side, you know, she's very loyal if you are stronger than her, and she's very smart
Hmm.
and dumb at the same time. It's
This
you
is
know,
true.
it's got that cuteness, and, if I had to do, like, a top 3 though, it would be, like, No Game, No Life, Haikyuu, and Ouran High School Host Club.
Hmm.
I have rewatched Haikyuu a dozen, if not more, times from start to finish.
Haikyuu, yeah, Haikyuu is
Yeah.
really good. It's like it is peak sports anime. You might not know it, guys. Like I'm not big on sports, but sports anime is like legitimately top tier. Like it is so good. Haikyuu is obviously amazing. I have friends who don't even like anime that love Haikyuu.
Oh,
It's worth watching it alone, honestly. Also for the soundtrack, like the guy, the composer for it, I got to hear him live in concert in an orchestra, and it's just Battle of Concepts live. You have not lived until you've heard Battle of Concepts live. It is that good. And then obviously we have the movie coming out in just a couple months' time. So
yes.
for those of you who are dedicated, uh, I have not actually watched Orin Host Club. I've heard very good things about it, but I've never actually seen it.
It's very forward for the time that it came out, I
Yeah,
will
I'd
say.
say it's probably like what, 15 years old maybe at this point, right? Am I wrong?
Very old.
Yeah, very. I mean, I'm dating myself, but like my favorite anime is literally, oh god, 32 years old at this point. So, like I have, yeah. So, I mean, if you're friends with me on Discord or you're in my Discord server, you probably have seen my profile picture, so you probably can guess what it is. By the way, that reminds me, I had a moment like 2 weeks ago where somebody in Car's server was like talking to me. They're like, "Oh, thank you so much for your guides," and then they realized like my avatar is Ryoko from Tenchi Muyo, and they're like,
Mhm.
"That's the series my mom loves," and I was like, "Oh."
Oh, no, oh,
Yeah,
man,
I felt so
they're a
old in that moment.
kid.
I was like, I'm a boomer. Ah! I've become everything I
Oh,
hate. Oh, but yeah, no, yeah, it's good to know that about your favorite series. So, I don't know if there's much else to talk about here. So, any holiday plans? Anything exciting coming out? What is next for Luca? Obviously, you said at the start you've been doing Epic 7 streams, but anything else you got going on here?
yeah, so, I mean, I'm doing Epic 7 right now because I'm very limited, in the amount of time I can stream because, I did start a brand new job. I'm about 3 weeks in. If you, you might have seen me because we had an all CM stream,
I
where
have, yeah, I
everyone
did
was
see this,
involved.
yeah.
Some people from the community have already found out where I'm working. I won't talk about it, but if you figure it out or if someone tells you, then yes, you know, I won't deny it. Um,
I'm
but
not gonna
because of
tell
that,
anybody.
I am working full time again, and so I'm trying to stream just whenever I during my free time. And so right now it's very limited, which is why I'm doing Epic 7, but I do want to branch out to other games potentially. Maybe go into kind of just chatting again because that's what I did before, and just doing just a bunch of random stuff. And speaking of random, no, it is kind of random, but I will be hosting a charity stream for the Covenant House here in Los Angeles on the 27th.
Yep.
We're gonna have different milestones and rewards and prizes and giveaways and stuff like that. So on December 27th, few days after Christmas, you know, everyone should be just kind of chilling and whatnot. I'm gonna be hosting a charity stream, and I mean, other than that, maybe if I have the luck to maybe become a part of the content creator program for Epic 7 as well, that is kind of on my list
Of things you want to
of
do?
things that I
It's
would
your
want
bucket
to
list?
do on my bucket list. Um, Not too sure how that's gonna be, but we'll see. And for anyone, oh, I will say, if you know my other CM name, do not use that outside of my official CM stuff. You can still
Okay.
use Luka. Okay, you can still use Luka. You can call me Jasmine, Luka. I can go by a lot of different names other than my official CM name elsewhere.
Yeah,
Okay, so
please respect
the
that.
one
By the way,
favor.
those of you watching, please respect that. You do not want to cause somebody professional trouble, especially considering how nice and wonderful Luca has been to our
Oh,
community.
thank you. But yeah, I mean that's it for me. I
Yeah.
think.
Okay. Awesome, awesome. So, in that case, then I guess it's time to wrap it up because I still have a bunch of stuff to do before Christmas over the next couple of days. Please, please make sure you all follow Luca and check out her charity stream on December 27th. I will link that down in this video's description, you know, right below the like button, which I would be very thankful if you smashed. It does help me out here a ton. And hopefully you enjoyed the last Sue Talks of 2023. Hopefully I can keep doing this again with more wonderful people. Like we do have Mashu scheduled, but let me know who else you want me to bring on. I think these are super cool. We don't really have any podcast style content anymore outside of the official World's End podcast like we talked about. Thank you so much, Luca, for coming on. You are a saint for doing this for me.
Thank you again for having me. I'm just really excited to be here. It's been very fun.
All right, guys, we're out of here. Happy holidays. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Happy holidays. Happy New Year. Bye.